Jeffrey Dahmer was born on May 21st, 1960, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He had a younger brother named David Dahmer. His parents' names were Joyce and Leonard Dahmer. Young Jeffrey was a happy child. He was energetic, growing up until the age of 4. At the age of 4, he had double hernia. It seemed to affect the boy. Later in his years, his parents went through problems. He went through struggles during that time, and by the time he was in his early teens, he was absolutely different from the Jeffrey that was once energetic and happy. He was friendless and disengaged. Jeffrey claimed that at the age of 14, he began to feel his desires of murder. He desired his fantasies to come to reality. He went drinking before he graduated high school. In 1978, though, he did end up graduating from high school. 3 weeks later, though, he committed his first murder. His first victim was Stephen Hicks. Hicks was a 19-year-old hitchhiker doing his own stuff. Dahmer convicted the 19-year-old to come back to his house. They were drinking together, and eventually Hicks wanted to leave. But did Dahmer want him to leave? No. Dahmer grabbed a 10-pound dumbbell and struck Hicks twice with it. After that, Jeffrey strangled Hicks until Hicks was no longer to be alive. Jeffrey Dahmer committed his first murder on a hitchhiker. And he did not murder someone else until years after. Jeffrey tried to live a normal life after that horrific incident. Dahmer enlisted in the United States Army. Because of his alcoholic abuse, his performance was getting more poor in the military over time. Heck, even 2 soldiers claimed that Dahmer raped them. Of course, because of his poor performance, he was discharged. After that, Dahmer's sexual fantasies came back to him. He went to gay bars in Milwaukee. He picked a second victim named Stephen Twomey. They were drinking and found Tommy crushed by his chest the next day. After the murder of Twomey, his sexual fantasies completely took over. He decided to look for his next victim, waiting to devour. Through 1990, he killed several more people, killing over 11 people, eating corpse, putting them in the refrigerator, peeling skin, dissecting them. Later, Jeffrey Dahmer met Tracy Edwards. On July 22nd, 1991, Tracy Edwards met Jeffrey Leonard Dahmer outside a bar in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Within hours, the Milwaukee cannibal Jeffrey Dahmer would be revealed, and Tracy Edwards would be deemed a hero. Jeffrey and Tracy walked for a while before Jeffrey invited him up to his apartment to drink some beer and watch the movie The Exorcist. Once inside the apartment, however, Jeffrey's personality changed. As the two sat watching the movie, Jeffrey laid his head childlike on Tracy's chest and chatted softly with the movie. Then suddenly, Dahmer changed again and in a split second turned to Tracy and threatened to kill him and eat his heart and organs. Jeffrey then struggled with Tracy in an attempt to handcuff him. Tracy was finally able to calm Jeffrey a bit by allowing him to get a cuff on one wrist, but in Jeffrey's drunken state was not able to get the cuff on the other wrist of his convict's next would-be victim. Jeffrey then grabbed a huge butcher knife and began wielding it at Tracy, forcing the man backwards into the bedroom. It was in this room that Tracy realized just how much danger he was truly in. He could see the huge blue vat that sat in one corner of the room. He could smell the stench of the rotting human flesh that emanated from the barrel that was filled with acid. He could see countless photographs of mutilated, contorted, and headless corpses all over the room. It was in that his fight or flight instinct for survival kicked in. He knew right then and there that it was truly fight or die. In an instant that completely startled his attacker, Tracy punched Jeffrey in the face as hard as he could, then kicked him in the gut until he was knocked off balance, giving Tracy time enough to race for the door and escape into the hallway. He ran as hard as he could to the exit apartment building and continued running until he was able to flag down two Milwaukee police officers, Robert Ruth and Ralph Mueller. With one handcuff still wrapped on his wrist, Tracy quickly told the officers about the last few hours he had endured with Jeffrey Dahmer and told them that he, Jeffrey Dahmer, had first threatened and then attempted to murder him. Tracy had led the two Milwaukee police officers back to the apartment and he had just escaped from and told one of the cops that the blade Jeffrey had threatened him with was in the bedroom. When the officers entered the bedroom in search of the alleged weapon, he was confronted with a crime scene like none other he'd ever seen before. He backed out of the bed and ordered his partner to cuff Jeffrey and place him under arrest. For some reason, the officer walked to the refrigerator and pulled it open. Whether he saw what he expected it to or not is hard to say, but what he found stored inside were body parts and heads. He moved carefully around the apartment and found 7 more heads, too many photographs that looked like they came from the horse show, hands, genitals, and human skeletal remains. There were boxes that contained human body parts, dismembered torsos in a vat of acid, and parts of humans in the trash. I'm sure both officers, as well as Tracy Edwards, were freaking the heck out. And word on the sadistic find spread like wildfire, and as did the name Tracy Edwards as the man who escaped from and stopped the Milwaukee cannibal Jeffrey Dahmer. Tracy Edwards explained to the authorities that he was only able to escape Dahmer by gaining his trust. He added that he had spent several hours just talking to the madman and trying to keep him calm, but when the minute came, he took his opportunity and ran. He also added that he felt God had sent him there to take care of the situation. Dahmer was indicted on 15 murder charges and the trial began on January 30th, 1992. Even though the evidence against him was overwhelming, Dahmer pled insanity as his defense due to the nature of his incredibly disturbing and uncontrollable impulses. Following 2 weeks of trial, the court declared him sane and guilty on 15 counts of murder. He was sentenced to 15 life terms for a total of 957 years in prison. In May of the same year, he entered a guilty plea for the murder of his first victim, Stephen Hicks, and received an additional life sentence. Dahmer served his time at the Columbia Correctional Institution in Portage, Wisconsin. During his time in prison, Dahmer expressed remorse for his actions and wished for his own death. He also read the Bible and declared himself a born-again Christian, ready for his final judgment. He was attacked twice by fellow inmates, with the first attempt to slice his neck open, leaving him with only superficial wounds. However, he was attacked a second time on November 28th, 1994, by an inmate as they cleared one of the prison showers. Dahmer was found still alive, but died on the way to the hospital from severe head traumas.